Hello and welcome to another episode of The Art of Kicking Ass Elegantly TV. I'm your host, Michelle Hext. This week I was asked the question, how did I manage to juggle small kids or a full-time job while I built my business? Well, I'm going to answer that question for you on the other side, so stick around. Well, I haven't had a full-time job since I was very, very young, so I can't answer how I juggled while I had a full-time job because I've not been in that situation. When I was working, and when I decided to become an entrepreneur, I kind of just threw myself into it and I swam pretty quickly. So I didn't have to juggle the full-time job thing, but what I did have to juggle was being a single mum with a baby that was just weeks old. So I'm not sure if you've read my book or not, but in the book I share with you that, I left my ex-husband and with my young son and then discovered that I was pregnant with Chloe. So, I did all of that on my own and I was trying to run my martial arts school and, I was back teaching classes, I think within, not long, I don't think it was much more than a week or so after I had a baby, I was back teaching classes. I didn't really have a choice. But at the same time, I was also wanting to get my qualifications to become a personal trainer. I wanted to add another string to my bow with the Taekwondo school back then. And so that required a lot of study, home study, and I also needed to do some work experience as well. And the way that I managed to do that was, the study, my kids were awake early. They were awake around about 6 o'clock in the morning. So I would set my alarm for 4:45 and I would get up and I would just sit my bum down. I'd make myself a cuppa. I'd sit down and at the kitchen table and I would just, get that study done and pump out work in that hour. And sometimes I was lucky and the kids would fall asleep, they'd stay asleep for longer and then I'd have a few more hours to get that stuff done. And so for that to have to work for me, I needed to create a really good master list so that when I woke up and, sat down with my cuppa, I knew exactly where I was at and what I needed to tackle that day. I didn't have a lot of time. So if I sat down and had to try and work out, where was I and where was I at again and what's the next thing on the list, that's eating valuable time. So I had to be really clear on what it was that I needed to do next so that I could make that time count. And for me, that was kind of it. I was done. If I got other opportunities during the day or if the kids went with their dad or something like that, I would, obviously put the work in. But that was kind of the time that mattered. That hour and a bit in the morning was my non-negotiable time, and it was when the valuable work was done. I didn't tend to do any work at night when the kids went to bed because I taught classes at night and I come home and I was stuffed. I had a new baby, I was breastfeeding, all that sort of stuff. So I didn't really, and I had no family around either, so I was kind of doing it on my own. Although I had one good friend who helped me, she took care of the kids and that was awesome. But, essentially I did a lot of this stuff on my own. And so, by night time my brain was fried and I knew there was just no point. So, I guess the takeaways from that are just have a really solid master list, know where you're at on that list at all times so that, if you've got to head off to work at stupid o'clock in the morning, you don't get home till late. Whatever works for you. Morning works really well for me. And getting up that hour and a bit early, even though I was breastfeeding and I was knackered, it still worked, and it became a habit that served me really, really well. So if mornings are good, then do that. If you're better at night, do that. If you can get away at lunchtime, you've got a good hour and you can do it then do it then. But let it become non-negotiable. And as I say, have a really solid master list and always know where you're at on that list. So when you have the opportunity to sit down for an hour, you can make it really count. Anyway, I hope that helps and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.